Find your fire when the world begs for your blaze. You clench fists tight, shadows mocking your buried rage. They laughed once, called you weak, a forgotten ghost. But deep inside, a storm brews, hungry for their throats. What if you unleashed it? Watch their smug faces crack. You sneer low, tasting the thrill of coming revenge. Memories sting sharp, replays of their cutting sneers. You shove them down, but they fuel the growing inferno. Why let doubters chain the beast you were born to be? Your pulse hammers wild, echoing through empty veins. They turned backs, left you bleeding in the dirt. Now you rise slow, dirt caking your vengeful grin. What glory awaits when you shatter their fragile thrones? You pace the dark, boots thudding like war drums. Their voices haunt, whispers of you'll never amount. You roar back silent, plotting the fall of their crowns. Why swallow pride when spitting fire could burn them all? Sweat beads hot, mixing with the salt of old tears. You stare at walls, imagining their crumbling empires. They built walls high to keep your light from shining, but cracks form now. From the quake of your will, what if one strike toppled their house of lies? You laugh bitter, fingers itching for the hammer's swing. Memories circle tight, vultures picking at your scars. You swat them fierce, feathers scattering in your gale. Why cower now when the arena calls your name? Your breath steams thick, fogging the mirror of doubt. They mocked your dreams, called them foolish kid games. Now you forge steel from those shattered worthless toys. What empire crumbles under the weight of one scorned soul? You step forward bold, ground trembling at your tread. Their eyes will widen when your shadow engulfs them. You build the plan, brick by bloody unyielding brick. Why whisper threats when shouts could level their gates? Heart pounds savage, a warlord's unbreaking battle cry. They forgot you quick, like trash tossed in the wind. But winds shift fierce, carrying your howl back strong. What terror grips when the forgotten bites back hard? You grind teeth sharp, honing edges for the kill. Memories ambush low, dragging chains of past shame. You snap them clean, links flying like broken oaths. Why play small when giants kneel to your storm? Eyes burn red, scanning horizons for their downfall. They feasted fat on your silence, grew bold and blind. Now famine comes, served on platters of your spite. What feast of fear when you crash their hollow halls? You clenched jaw tight, venom dripping from your tongue. Their laughter echoes faint, ghosts in your rising tide. You drown them out, waves crashing with tidal wrath. Why endure sneers when revenge could silence them forever? Blood surges hot, rivers of liquid lightning in veins. You map the strikes, each one a thunderclap aimed true. They underestimated saw lamb in wolf's clothing. Now the flock scatters as your fangs gleam bare. What reckoning dawns when the meek turns monster raw? Why let their poison fester when your antidotes rage? You prowl the night, shadows bending to your will. They whisper doubts, seeds planted in your young soil. But roots twist deep, thorns ready to pierce their feet. What harvest of horror when you reap their regrets? You smirk dark, plotting fields of their coming ruin. Memories slither close, serpents hissing old defeats. You crush heads swift, venom turning to your strength. Why bow broken when rebellion fits like iron armor? Breath ragged hot, fueling the forge of your fury. They built empires on your back, bricks of betrayal. Now you shrug violent, watching towers topple in dust. What dust storm blinds when the scorned strikes back fierce? You advance steady, no flinching from phantom blows. Their faces flash quick, smug grins you crave to erase. You etch new smiles, carved in the lines of their fear. Why hoard hatred when unleashing could free your soul? Sweat slick skin tight, armor gleaming under moonless skies. You whisper vows grim, oaths sealed in your own blood. They turned the screw, twisted your spirit to breaking point. But springs recoil hard, snapping jaws on careless hands. What snap echoes loud when the trap claims its makers? You laugh low-throaty, echoes bouncing off their graves. Memories muster bold, legions of what if you fail. You mow them down, scythe swinging in crimson arcs. Why fear the fall when rising crushes their skulls? Eyes narrow lethal, locking on distant quivering throats. They paraded proud, banners waving your stolen dreams. Now rags they become, fuel for your bonfire of spite. What blaze consumes when the ashes spell their defeat? You stoke flames high, winds howling your victory song. Their voices crack faint, pleas lost in your thunder. You ignore the whimper, press the boot deeper still. Why offer mercy when they've none left to give? Veins throb alive, pulsing with the beat of war. You chart the chaos, paths paved in their broken pride. They saw you small, a speck beneath their mighty boots. Now mountains move as your pebble starts the avalanche. What bury alive when the slide claims kings and fools? You grind forward grim, no pause in the pursuit. Memories flank sly, arrows loosed from bows of regret. You dodge and volley, shafts splintering on your shield. Why cling to chains when freedom's forged in their screams? Fists ball iron hard, knuckles whitening with intent. They feigned friendship once, knives hidden in warm hands. Now blades turn back, carving your name in their flesh. What inscription lasts when the stone's their very bones? You pace, relentless, rhythm of a predator's stalk. Their doubts once drowned you, waves of their cruel tides. But you swim savage, dragging anchors to the depths. Why drown willing when surfacing spits in their eyes? Heart races feral, a caged lion's breaking roar. You build the cage now, but theirs to trap the prey. They underestimated fire in the eyes of the crushed. Now infernos rage, fed by the logs of their logs. What pyre rises tall when the fuel's their fallen logs? Why tolerate traitors when exile's too kind a fate? You stand unyielding, ground cracking under your stance. They sowed the seeds of scorn in your fertile ground, but weeds grow wild, choking their gardens to barren dust. What barren waste when your bloom poisons their roots? You tilt head mocking, savoring the wilt of their pride. Memories lunge hungry, fangs bared in familiar jaws. You rip them free, teeth marks maps of battles won. Why kneel in dirt when thrones await your vengeful ass? Lungs heave full, inhaling the smoke of burning bridges. They crossed lines bold, toes dipped in your boiling rage. Now scalded raw, they dance frantic on blistering coals. What dance of death, when the rhythm's your drumbeat cruel? You tap fingers sharp, counting down to their last step. Their eyes once rolled, dismissing your spark as mere smoke. But embers glow hot, ready to ignite their dry worlds. Why fan their flames when yours could consume them whole? Skin prickles alive, static charge of the gathering storm. You summon the clouds, lightning leashed to your iron will. They built dams high to stem the flood of your rise. But cracks spider wide, waters rushing to drown their holds. What deluge devours when the barriers bow and break? You wade waist deep, currents carrying their desperate cries. Memories circle wary, sharks scenting blood in the foam. You spear them quick, chum for the depth's endless hunger. Why feed the weak when strength starves their illusions? Gaze pierces far, horizons bending to your command. They hoarded the light, leaving you scraps in the dark. Now eclipses come, your shadow blotting their stolen suns. What blackout blinds when the moon claims the thief's glow? You eclipse total, corona flaring with spiteful fire. Their pleas fall deaf on ears, tuned to triumph's tune. You conduct the silence, baton carved from their spines. Why compose dirges when anthems could raise your legions? Blood boils thick, cauldron bubbling with alchemical wrath. You stir the brew, potions potent to melt their crowns. They crowned themselves kings on thrones of your silenced screams. Now regicide reigns, blades drawn from sheaths of old wounds. What coup succeeds when the subjects turn executioners? You lead the charge. No mercy in the midnight raid. Memories strike low, daggers aimed at your armored heart. You parry vicious, hilts shattering in your grip tight. Why yield ground when conquest calls from every scar? Jaw sets granite hard, resolve etching lines like runes. They peddled pity once, coins minted from your pain. Now markets crash, your counterfeits flooding their vaults. What bankruptcy breaks when the wealth's your reclaimed fire? You hoard the blaze, banking embers for eternal war. Their allies scatter quick, rats fleeing the sinking ship. You plug the holes, watch the vessel list, and groan. Why salvage wrecks when sinking them feeds your depths? Soul surges vast, oceans parting at your decree. You part the waves, exposing reefs of their hidden flaws. They navigated smug charts drawn in inks of deceit. Now shoals shred hulls, wreckage washing up on your shores. What tribute tides when the spoils are theirs turned yours? Set for 500 words. Why forgive fools when lessons carve from their bones? You loom larger now, silhouettes swallowing their light. They planted doubts deep, roots tangling your growing trunk. But axes swing true, chopping forests to clear your path. What lumber legacy when the timber builds your siege engines? You hew the logs heavy, wheels creaking under war weight. Memories muster final, phalanx of phantoms in formation. You charge through ranks, shields splintering like autumn leaves. Why scatter leaves when raking them fuels your pyre? Chest heaves mighty, bellows stoking the heart's forge fire. They walled you out once, bricks mortared with mocking mirth. Now battering rams pound, gates groaning to your rhythm. What breach bellows loud? When the walls weep surrender, you surge through gaps, no quarter in the courtyard clash. Their treasures tempt brief, gold glinting in torchlight dim. But you melt it down, coins recast as arrowheads sharp. Why hoard wealth when weapons win the wars that matter? Fury flows free, rivers carving canyons through stone hearts. You navigate narrows, currents swift with your spite. They dammed the flow once, reservoirs of their righteous rage. Now bursts break banks, floods feasting on fertile fields. What erosion eats when the waters wear worlds away? You ride the rapids, no oar, but will steers the course. Memories eddy close, whirlpools whispering sweet submersion. You break the spin, eddies emptying into your sea. Why sink ships when commandeering claims captain's quarters? Mind maps vast realms, territories trembling at borders breached. They fenced you in tight, pastures picked bare by their greed. Now herds stampede wild, trampling fences to trampled turf. What migration madness when the meek lead the charge? You whip the flanks, dust clouds cloaking your advance. Their sentries sleep sound, dreams undisturbed by dawn's drum. But reveille rings raw, your horn heralding havoc's hour. Why delay dawn when the sun rises at your roar? Limbs loose and lethal, coiled springs of the striking serpent. You slither silent, scales scraping secrets from stone floors. They lounged in luxury, lounges lined with looted laurels. Now serpents strike swift, venom vining through velvet veins. What paralysis pangs when the bite brings the blindfold? You coil tighter still. No hiss, but the heart's hiss. Memories manifest mild. Mirages melting in morning mist. You dispel the haze, horizons hazing no more with lies. Why veil visions when clarity cuts like crystal blades? Spirit swells supreme, spheres spinning to your silent song. You spin the spheres swift, orbits obeying your orbit. They claimed the cosmos once. Constellations carved in conceit. Now novas ignite near, stars searing their stolen skies. What supernova scorches when the sparks your scorn reborn? You bask in bursts, brilliance blinding the bastard heirs. Their empires evaporate, ether eaten by your endless. You claim the void vast, vacuum voicing your victory. Why end echoes when encores eternalize the enmity? Essence endures eternal, echoes etching epics untold. So, you hid no more. The world trembles at your unveiled storm. They mocked the spark, but you birthed the blaze that devours. Scars to swords, doubts to dust. Rise, show them the monster they forged. No chains hold, no mercy given. Claim the chaos as your crown. Forge the fear they feel into fuel for flights unchained. Noctira Jaris unleashes. Subscribe, bare your fangs. Let the world witness who you truly are.